Okay, we are live. We are just waiting to start. Thank you. Please remember, if you are presenting today, please just switch on your camera and mute your microphone. When it is your turn to present, please just unmute your microphone. Thank you. Prof Rahman. Prof S. Rahman. Are you in the presenter lobby? Can you please switch on your camera for me if you are there? Thank you. Prof, do you mind just unmuting your microphone quickly? I just want to check that the audio is coming through properly, please.
Mammen, and I am your program director for this event. This is a very exciting day for all of us. We are here for a very auspicious event to launch the Centec Research and Innovation Collaboration Network. We have been collaborating, working for long with many universities, with partners, but this is about time now we formalize it. And so here we are to put the pen to the paper and commit ourselves to this journey. So with that, I would firstly like to thank everybody for making time, taking time out from your schedule, coming through and being part of this function. Everybody around in this venue, as well as those sitting virtually and watching us. Welcome and thank you. Some housekeeping rules to note is, please, if we could recognize that COVID is still here. It is an opportunity, definitely, that it's a blessing that we could be here physically, but we also do adhere to the COVID protocols. Mobiles, please be either on silent or switched off, whatever you prefer. And just a few notes on either side of this wall. You have the username and password for the Wi-Fi connection if you would like to log on to the Wi-Fi network at UJ. And the last is, I'm not sure if you had the chance to look around and see, but if you walk out to the right, the first exit, you will see the restroom for the gents, and on the other side, same, or to the left, to the right, it's a restroom for the ladies. So hoping that everything has been observed and we can start this event. And before we start the event, just a question for all of us to think about is, why are we here? And what is the purpose of us being here? And it takes me to a story that I read a couple of months ago, and I would like to share with everybody here. It's a real story. It's not something that is made, but it has an essence to why we are here. So there's a couple from India that started off with a very humble being, decided to make their future and left to US with a big dream that they need to accomplish something in life. They need to do something good, and not just for themselves, but for the family, for the community. So off they leave, off they jet to US, and being there for a couple of years, couple of months, they settle down, newlywed, they settle down and they start making friends. They start fitting into a small community of their own. And it so happens that they get invited for a supper at one of their relatives' house. And being at a supper on a working day, the husband told the wife that I will come to the venue after my work. Please be there, make your arrangements, and please be at the function at 8. I'll see you there. Everything is fine. The day goes on, and now it is about time to meet at the venue. So the ladies, as usual, we are always punctual. We are always on time. We leave, and and we are at the and this lady reaches the friend's house, and the function has started, but the husband is not to be seen anywhere. An hour goes, and no response as to where he is. Is he on the road? And this is quite some time back when there was no not mobile phones, there was mobile phones, but this person did not have mobile phone then. So looking at the challenges at that time, there was no way to keep in contact, and they move on. They started the function. Dinner was done. Everybody said bye to each other, but the husband didn't come for the function, while he had actually left office on time to be at the function. And what happened was he got lost. He got lost. He went to the other side of the town, then to this side of the town. He got lost. He did not know where exactly this venue is. Now he goes home. He reaches their house and they greet him and they say that it's over. But they did warn him that he is going to a lion now, lioness, in fact. So he goes home, and as you would think, I'm sure most men have definitely gone through that stage where you get into a house and the wife is not in a good mood. And they definitely argue, they have a fight. And because the atmosphere in the house was not great, he decided to take his car, drive, get some air, come back later. And he went straight to work. And he's thinking all along his drive, what caused this thing? Could I have changed? What would have not made the situation? And he came up with an idea that he wants to make sure that any person who, if he could have got lost, it's not just him, there are other people around also getting lost like this. And he wants to make sure any person who wants to go to a place for the first time should not get lost. They should reach there on time. And he came there back the next day into the meeting. He sat with his team of developers, innovators, and he shared this idea. Some of them ridiculed it. Some of them took it on it. And what happened? They decided that they will develop this product. And this product is being currently used. And we use it. I used it this morning. Any guess which product this must be? Google Maps. It's Google Maps. And guess who this husband character is? None other than the current CEO of Google, Sundar Pichai. He developed Google Maps. The reason for me telling the story is because it shows the characteristics of innovation. It's not one person idea. It's not about getting it from the air, having that moment that this needs to be developed. It's your experience. Your experience makes it innovative. Just by experiencing it and brushing it aside doesn't help. But empathizing to the situation and thinking to make a difference makes it make or break. So yes, innovation is about working together, empathizing, about feeling the pain point, about working towards an objective, getting the goals to the goal-oriented, action-oriented, everything sounds good. But there is a key element that today's kind of innovation also requires, which is collaboration. It's good to collaborate because collaboration helps us to see things that we have not seen, but somebody else has seen. And that's when we are able to do things for the better of this world and our community. So having said that, and my story of the Google CEO, Sundar Pichai, to end off, every innovation has a story. It has a story of how it began, how it started off, and it also has a story on how it progressed. And I feel today we are here to write that story, a new story. On a fresh board, we go and we write the story of Centec's Research Innovation Collaboration Network. What did we do? Paint the picture and say it out to the world and make sure that we make a difference in the community. So I hope we are all ready to write that story. We are excited to write that story. And I would now then formally invite our CEO, Mr. Boy, to come onto the podium and open the ceremony for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anju. Okay, looks like Christian has not helped his stuff. Thank you for the opportunity to be at UJ. I always have good memories when I come to an academic institution, good and bad. Daniel, Prof. Mishra will remember why I'm saying good and bad, because the bad side was really bad when I was still a student at varsity, where one of my lecturers who used to teach us technical drawing, and I had no clue about technical drawing. I didn't done that in my schooling. So he would walk around in this drawing room, and then he shouts from a distance, "Mr. Boy, are you going to pass?" You can imagine I'm shaking in my boots by that time. So that was the bad side of it. But the good side was that at the end of it all, we managed to finish what we started. So dreams do come true. And I think and I believe that even the dream of collaboration with academic institutions has come true today. If you want to go fast, they say, you can go alone. So sprinters sprint alone. But marathon runners tend to run in packs, or hikers do tend to hike in packs. So you go together to be able to go far. And today, we would like to say we're here at Centec to kick off a collaboration dream that we had over the past years. Let me first acknowledge the presence of the leadership team of Centec. Our Chief Operations Officer and the leaders of Centec are here. Some are joining us online. Let me also acknowledge the deans of the universities who are here, starting with the Dean of the University of Johannesburg, Professor Daniel Mishra. I'm not going to mention the names of the other deans because I don't have the names in front of me. I'm mentioning Daniel Mishra because we've come a long way with him. I will not tell the full story about where we come from. The Dean of the University of Pretoria, University of the Witwatersrand, the Northwest University, Swane University of Technology, University of Limpopo. I think I've mentioned the UCT, and all the industry partners who are here with us today, who have shown interest in this network that we're establishing. I believe the Councillor of ICASA will be here with us, and there are many other stakeholders who are here with us, and I acknowledge you and I welcome you and I appreciate you taking the time to come and join us as we launch this dream. If you want to remember your dream, there's only one thing you can do. Write it down, then you'll remember it. And learn the art of remembering your dream, because you will go back to what you've written down and remember what you had in your dream. But dreams do come true, and this is why we're here today. We are here because of what has been achieved by our teams who have put together this collaboration, I would say, platform or forum. For some years, Centec has been contributing towards skills development for the country and also for our organization. When we embark on the journey of developing skills, sometimes our skills do fly out of our organization and we get unhappy. But one thing that makes us happy is that they are not lost to the country. It is a contribution to the skills of this country. Our environment is changing and has continued to change, and very rapidly, with some emerging technologies that are now not technologies of the future, but they are technologies of today, such as cloud computing, artificial intelligence, IoT. These are all driven by the visions and the aspirations and the dreams of those technocrats who could see ahead. Anju has quoted one of the technologies here of using technology to show you where you're going. So all of these dreams, they require skills, and we're offering these skills at our organization. But we can't develop skills at Centec alone. We are not an academic institution. It is for that reason that we're here today. In the recent years, we shifted towards combining skills development with research and innovation in collaboration with the academia. Why academia? Because the focus of the academia is on developing new knowledge. And our focus is to take that new knowledge and see how we can apply in solving real-life situations. In the current financial year, the aim is to take our initiatives with the academia to the next level. We ensure that it talks to all our digital transformation aspirations and the ability to create new offerings at Centec, and then scale up these new offerings into answering some business needs. We have to be profitable as a business, and because of that, we have to convert or translate our research and innovation into some products and services that will answer the needs and demands of our industry and our market. So to all the universities present here, we have looked at your expressions of interest, which you have sent to us as part of the collaboration invitation which I have sent to you. And we have really liked some of the proposal, if not all, Mr. Ngwenya. But today we sit here, this is really the culmination of that work of saying, provide us with the expressions of interest, and we'll look at that and see how we can work together to develop a collaboration network. We're here with our industry partners as well, who have expressed an interest in the journey towards technology development together with Centec. Therefore, today, we kick off this collaboration initiative. Its main purpose is to create a network that supports creativity and innovation for all, not only for ourselves, but for the industry, and not only for the industry, but also to teach students and those aspiring technologists and engineers, to teach them how to apply technology in real life problems, in solving the real life problems. And how do we sustain our organizations through commercialization of these technologies? So what are the outcomes that we expect from the network and the collaboration? One thing that has really bugged me for a number of years, and I kept saying this to the professors, that, you know, if it was not for the background and this is my excuse, of course, Professor Mishra. If it was not for the background, I would have done my PhD and I would have been a gray-haired professor here like Professor Mishra and with glasses and teaching at university. But I ran away. So, but some, they keep encouraging me that please come back. And I promise you that in the fullness of time, I'll be back. So what is the expectation, therefore, of the outcomes of this collaboration? We expect that we'll produce graduates together. You will teach them, and then you'll send them out to industry so that we can give them the practical experience. You will produce postgraduates because we need more PhDs who are going to develop new knowledge. We expect that these PhDs, especially Black PhDs and Black South African PhDs, but I say, we need them to graduate and then stay at university and teach, because we have a shortage of Black academics in this country. We also need to produce a number of patents together. So, Prof, if you would just in the next couple of years or months say this is a patent we're working on, I'll be the happiest person on earth. We need to commercialize this research so that we can make it appropriate to our environment. Also, we need to ensure that partnership with industry and the academia has got a specific purpose of making sure that the graduates that we produce, the PhDs we produce, stay in the academia to teach. They will not be able to stay. Now I'm speaking to the private sector or to the industry here. We need a partnership between industry and the academia, because our students, particularly those who come from underprivileged backgrounds. They can't afford to stay at universities and be able to survive with the stipend that we give them as a research grant. And therefore, we need a partnership with industry so that we can close that gap, so that people can be able to afford to live and support their siblings as they stay in the academia and pursue their research objectives. That is a partnership I'm looking for from industry. Partner with the academia. Let's produce academics who would like to teach. Lastly, I would like to just say my thanks, or rather mention the contribution that we're going to receive today from some of the participants and presenters. That is from Gartner, Mr. Tumi Mnotsi, and from Kutleng Engineering, Mr. Benjamin Slope, and from the University of Cape Town, Professor Mishra. And I would also like to make a special mention of Professor Ramnan from the Virginia Tech University. And I welcome you all to this event. And lastly, I would like to say to the Dean of the Engineering faculty here at UJ, thank you for providing this venue for us. It is a beautiful place for us to come and launch our collaboration project. Thank you for all that you have done in collaboration with our team. And I would like at this point to say all welcome and call on Professor Mashao to come and address us as we kick off this conversation this afternoon. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you, Program Director, and thank you, CEO, as well, for opening this session for us. The CEO has already told you, my name is Daniel Mashao. I'm the Executive Dean of the Faculty of Engineering and the Built Environment at University of Johannesburg. As the CEO has said, we really do know each other from many, many years. If we were to tell that story, I would have to write a book. I could talk about his car. I could talk about the Toyota he had. He had an LED light in there that was doing nothing but just blinking, and he was using it to scare the robbers, and it probably worked because he never got robbed his Toyota when we were at UCT. But one of the things that really was in my mind as we are making these presentations is that I still remember him in our class, in a communication class, where we had to make presentations. So since I came in this morning, I've been thinking about that picture, you know, when we were students at University of Cape Town. But thank you very much for making this possible. It's, you know, sometimes these things really, really look small. Sometimes they really look like just things we are doing, but actually they really have a great impact. It's part of our contribution to the great mission of this country. And Centec is making it possible. As the CEO has said, it's not as easy as it looks. You know, there are people who have to have meetings. Me as the dean, I'm sitting in the office here. Prof Naidu goes around, writes documents and set up meetings with me, and I just look at it for 10, 15 minutes and say, oh, Prof, go on, Prof, change this. But, you know, there are people who are putting a lot of effort into making what may look very easy to happen. So we really want to thank you, colleagues, for all the efforts that you have put in, Mr. Ngwenya and others. And I want to say to the CEO, please come back. We do have many mechanisms to get you back. We do have a professor of practice at UJ, and one of the things on that professor of practice is that you are CEO, so you qualify already, and we are looking forward to having you. We'll work on it, Mr. CEO. Yeah, I don't want to say much. They just gave me 5 minutes. Otherwise, I do like to be a preacher sometime, and I don't want to take too much of your time. But just to say thank you for creating this Centec Research and Innovation Network. It's really a great honor to us at the University of Johannesburg to start here. Our vision is very simple, to be an international university of choice, anchored in Africa and dynamically shaping the future. As an institution, we try to live towards it. You know, we are very competitive. You can see us in a lot of ratings. My faculty of engineering produces about 733 research output units, in other words, journals a year. Now that is the highest number. When Prof Marwala came here, the Faculty of Engineering at UJ was producing about 25 units a year. And ever since he was here, the numbers have been going up. I'm left with 2 years in my contract, and my target is to reach 1,000 units, research output units. So this is really going to help us. Myself and Prof Naidu have been really looking at how effectively are we going to employ this finance that we are receiving, the help we are receiving, to ensure that we reach those goals. So don't worry about it going into my pockets. It doesn't. It's not going to. It's really going to go do the great work. And yeah, and maybe let me not talk too much more, but thank you very much. We are looking forward. We did hear the outcomes you are expecting from us, graduates, PhDs that stay, producing more patents and research that we can call on, that we can commercialize. And yes, we are aware of the black tax, you know, that tax that we have to go under. You know, you went to school and everybody expects you to, because you went to school, to really drive a nice car, and everybody expects you to help their sister, and because you earn a lot of money. So we do have those challenges, but with the help that we have received, we should be able to move and make a difference. Thank you very much to the organizers, and I'll just cut it there. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. Thank you, Prof, for that opening statements. What is very encouraging to see is we are aligned. Our objective is same. We want the same out of this initiative. And I would now like to call upon the man behind the seed, who has always been working so hard, who has planted the seed for this day, Mr. Ngwenya, to come on the podium. I must say that he's one person it's a pleasure to work with, because he is not afraid to lose sight of the shore in search of a new ocean. So he always is motivating. He is like a pirate, not scared of anything, and that helps us also to be bold and to dream and to achieve those dreams. Thank you, Mr. Ngwenya. I welcome on the podium.
Thanks, Anju. I didn't realize that I didn't know myself. Thanks a lot. Okay, I thought there was going to be a laptop here. Okay. Thanks. Look, mine will be simple. The presentation, I will go through it quite quickly. A lot of it has been said by both the CEO as well as Professor Mashao. Well, with the understanding that we are quite aligned. Maybe just to give a background to the presentation, we want just to make you understand where we come from and why do we set up this network and what do we hope to achieve with this network. And already the CEO has sort of set the tone that we are not just doing this for Centec, we are doing it for the country, for your organizations. We are want to make sure that Centec can remain sustainable, but also your organizations. We want to ensure that as universities, you can achieve your mission. So in that way, it covers all of us. The real challenge which we have in South Africa and the world, we normally call it fourth industrial revolution. And the background there is the population that is expanding everywhere, is the climate change, the pollution, food requirements, food security. Those are the things that we are trying to solve. Those are the problems that we are trying to resolve. So 4IR is an attempt to look at technologies that can assist us to resolve such problems. In Africa, we are a net importer, unfortunately. So we want to see how we can change that by creating efficiencies, by having the right skills and the right technology to mechanize such production, means of production. So why do we have this network? First, we want to make sure that we create a network of creativity and innovation for our organizations and your organizations and the country. We have already said that. We want to synergize. So the network is really to make sure that we can come together and synergize the efforts that the individual efforts, we can put them together. And in that way, both the universities and industry, we can do bigger things. We want to reach globally, to Africa, to the world. If Netflix is able to make money from South Africa, we should also be able to make money in the US. So that's really what we are trying to achieve. These are some of the domains. In the past, you know, when we do communication infrastructure, that was your area, and you wouldn't care what's happening in agriculture, you wouldn't care what's happening in health or education. But today, in order for us to manage the value chain, the supply chain in agriculture, right from the plantation to the end user, to the consumer, we should be able to use communication infrastructure, computing power, artificial intelligent algorithms, advanced algorithms, automation. So these domains becomes important. Your agriculture and fruit production, we hope that we'll be able to solve problems around that. Health, education, public protection and disaster relief, and all kind of emergencies. Energy management, Prof. Rahman will be talking about energy internet, which basically talks to that. Water and sanitation, smart factories, smart environment, automotive, you know, we'll be looking at all those things, and then the climate change and so on and so on. Here I just want to show a picture of innovation in the world. We are sitting somewhere in the middle as South Africa, and probably you can see that all the countries in Africa and Sub-Sahara, they are quite far below. So we want to move that to the higher side of the graph. How do we do that? Well, we have already spoken about the domains as well as the technologies, and then now we're bringing in the universities so that they can achieve or help us to deal with that. I will just mention all the universities that are involved. The university, I will start with anyone so that you don't feel like there's one that is more important than the other. So I will try and choose randomly. Let me start with Tshwane University of Technology. There University of Tshwane Technology, Tshwane University of Technology. They are focusing on cyber security, data, big data, and AI, especially in the 4IR environment. Then we have got University of Limpopo, which will look at 5G enabling technologies, but specifically to solve agricultural food production and skills development. Then University of Johannesburg, they are looking at 5G. The main focus in environment and health, and Prof. Naidu will talk about that moving forward. What's the impact to the environment? And also looking at localization. How can we localize such technologies, as well as IoT and machine learning? The University of Pretoria is looking at future wireless networks, looking at wireless, or rather, smart cities and transportation and logistics. And then we've got Northwest University, which will focus on artificial intelligence, including natural language processing. Looking at spectrum science, I think that's a very important part of our research that we want to look at, but focusing on how those technologies assist on OTTs and health environment. And then we've got University of Wits, which will look at 5G and beyond, as well as IoT, focusing on telecoms and automotive and utilities, that is your water utilities, energy utilities, and so on and so on. Then lastly, we've got University of Cape Town, which will be looking at, and they have got a lot of experience on 5G and IoT sensing, you know, the sense environment. So they want to focus on agriculture, food security, and smart environment. Just, oh, okay, so I don't want to forget some of our industry partners. There's quite a lot, but these are just a few whom we have got active relationship, but there's a lot of industry partners that have expressed interest. We have got the CSIR from a government side, state-owned entities. We have got the Technology Innovation Agency. We have got the AWS as one of our suppliers, but then they also provide contribution in terms of what we are trying to do in terms of innovation. Then we've got Riot, which is an SMME that does a lot in trying to localize 5G technology and other technologies in South Africa. Kutleng Engineering Technologies, also another SMME that we are working with around that. We have got Greater Tzaneen Community Forum, and I just wanted to make a special mention. They are collaborating with University of Limpopo, but why I wanted to make a special mention is because they are involved in robotics and artificial intelligence, and in also looking at how we can use such in food production. And so that's why we are so much interested in that alignment. Some of the things that we already have in our mind as deliverables, so that, you know, when we leave here, we sort of have something to look forward to. I'll just say it's just some of the few things, but it also makes universities to be up to their task in what we are doing with them. The first one is we are looking at piloting 5G networks locally designed. Kutleng is busy working on 5G technology. So we're looking, Kutleng and Riot, so we're looking at see how we can pilot. And it takes time to pilot such technologies. It takes 18 to 36 months just to pilot such technologies. So between University of Johannesburg and University of Pretoria currently, that's where we're looking to do the pilot. Then we're looking at also having an environment, a controlled environment for agriculture at the University of Limpopo, and they are collaborators. That will allow us to do experimentation on AR and robotics in the agricultural and food production environment. Then we are looking at intelligent reflective surfaces. That is important for autonomous vehicles of the future. So the University of Witwatersrand is working hard in that environment. So in about 2 years' time, they have promised that we will have a lab that actually does this. We also have the University of Wits and UP assisting us with models to look at spectrum interferences. And then in cybersecurity, we said it's TUT. We would like to create a laboratory, and a laboratory that will become so important for South Africa and Africa in general. Then we are looking at locally developed products for wildlife monitoring and pollution from University of Cape Town. Other things that we are looking forward to. Okay. Move it in. Okay. Yes. So we will be having focused workshops. Each university or a group of universities will mount certain, I take that term of mounting from Professor Takawira. I hope he hears me. So they will mount the seminars and workshops, specific, forecast, so that we know that when we deal with 5G, we really deal with substance in 5G. We don't combine 5G with other things as we normally do sometimes. So those are some of the seminars and workshops that we'll be dealing with. We also want to collocate in the conference that we'll be having with the World Engineering Education and Global Engineering Deans Council, which will be happening end of the year in December. This year. So these are some of the things that we are looking forward to, and part of the collaboration. We hope that we'll be able to mount such activities. Now, thanks so much for the universities that have agreed to collaborate with us. Thanks so much for the partners, industry partners. But I don't know if we synchronized properly, CEO, that after I finish, you will do the last step. So I will call you upon to just do that. Okay, it looks like the CEO is delegating to the COO. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Ngwenya, for those words and giving us a picture of what lies ahead of us. Lots of work to be done, very exciting. So we are ready as Centec. The next item on the agenda is to call upon our universities and our partners to talk to us and share their experience and what they think about this initiative. While I was preparing to speak to you, I did come across an African proverb, which I want to share with you today, which says, I think the CEO just touched on it also when he was talking. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And as Centec, we have decided it's just not about going fast, but it is going far together. And we have put that as a stand. And we're calling upon the universities as well as our partners to take this place and talk to us what you feel about this journey. For that, I'm going to call upon Katu to come and introduce the team and the partners. And it's all yours.
Very much. I am, as I was sitting there, I'm smiling because I feel so privileged to be part of this, mostly to be part of Centec, honestly, and also to be alive with everything that we've gone through as a country, through COVID, and people have lost lives, people have lost jobs, and I'm grateful to be standing here, and I think we should never take that for granted. And extending to that, it's been grateful to be part of this project. And somebody decided, I'm talking about my colleague Centec, to take this initiative, to start this. It's a great need. I'm in the broadband space within Centec. And I didn't introduce myself. I'm getting excited. My name is Katuchero Rapunga. I work for Centec under the broadband division, and it is a pleasure to address you this afternoon. And I was saying that this initiative that we have taken, that collaboration, part of my background is in supply chain. I worked for many years in supply chain. And it made me realize the importance of collaboration, whether with industries outside Centec, service providers, just to take it beyond being a transactional relationship, but being collaborative. And I find it working for us. We've got, as a government entity, we issue tenders. We've got panels that we use because we recognize that, you know, industry sometimes know better than we do, and and we can collaborate. And I'm happy to, you know, for this initiative, and also collaboration with SMME. Bamgwenya mentioned that as well. We take that seriously as Centec as well. Hence, you know, with our triple BE level, I know there's an issue right now within the, you know, between Treasury and the Constitutional Court, but you know, we've been level 1 for a couple of years, and also because it's our contribution and collaboration with SMMEs. So I'm excited. I'll be calling the first presenter. It'll be Prof. Pat Naidu from the University of Johannesburg. And each presenter is really for them to just maybe state their role in this thing, and just the relevance of this collaboration. So please help me to welcome Prof. Pat Naidu.
Thank you. Good afternoon, colleagues. And thank you for the opportunity to share with you some of the conversations that we're going to have at the University of Johannesburg. All right, we're coming up. I'm given 4 minutes, so we'll be quick. You got it. Okay. Thank you very much. Our accountabilities for... Okay, just give him a moment or two. Our accountabilities for the next period, 2022 to 2024. And I'll share that with you. Give us a moment for getting up the slides. In the meantime, thank you to the leadership of Centec, leadership of University of Johannesburg for supporting us in this drive. And again, our passion is that of building capacity and creating the future, not just for ourselves, but more for the generations to come. Thank you. All right. All right, he'll fix it up quickly. Give us a moment. Take your time, take your time. Would another university go first, or is it all in that pack? That pack is jammed up. Let's go. Is it not coming? You may have to load via MS Teams. Yeah, they'll get it right. Presenting from here will be ourselves, UJ. Northwest, you're presenting from here also? Yes. Northwest. The other universities presenting from here? Just the two of us.
UP.
Sorry? UP, University of Pretoria also. So 3 of us will be presenting from here, and the other colleagues will be presenting online, I think. Amit from Cape Town will be online, and the Limpopo team will be online. UP first. No, I think he's got that whole package jammed up. It's all locked up there. He's got the presentation. It's fine. Okay, you come first. You come first.
Prof. Philip from UP.
Prof. Philip, over to you.
You can call.
Oh, you're just talking. Oh, perfect. Perfect.
We seem to be having some technical difficulties, but we're sorting that out. My next guest is Prof. Philip from Pretoria, University of Pretoria.
You actually upgraded my title. I'm actually not yet Prof. So it is actually Dr. Philip Palončić. I'm from the Department of Electronic and Computer Engineering from the University of Pretoria. But I did actually do my undergraduate studies at UJ and postgraduate studies as well. So I'm actually familiar with this campus. Sort of sitting here today, I almost get the feeling like I'm at the UN General Assembly. It's a very nice venue to be in. So obviously, we at UP have collaborated with Centec for quite an extended period of time. So this is actually a continuation of a long relationship that we have already had with Centec. At UP, our primary focus has been on work with wireless networks. Historically, we have primarily focused on cognitive radio network. We have done a lot of research in that space, focused on resource allocation, queuing theory, and so forth. Within the context of 5G, at this moment, we are looking at doing research in mobile edge and cloud computing. So that is one of the main topics that we are exploring at the moment. We've also worked a lot on the physical layer, so we also have quite a bit of competencies in that area. So I just wanted to give you a general overview of the research work that is done at UP. So I thank you for your attention and hand back to my.
Very much. I think we seem to have sorted the issue.
Thank you. Can you give me a slideshow? Thank you. Oh, there we go. Yeah. There we go. Thank you very much. Thank you, colleagues. I'll also be brief, and I'll share with you the work plan for the University of Johannesburg. Very much, we're going to be looking at 3 areas of focus: 5G and the impact on environmental health, 5G and emerging communications technology with particular emphasis on localization and industrialization, and IoT generated new enterprise and revenue generating opportunities. The strategy we've taken at University of Johannesburg is that we want to shoot for high impact research productivity, keeping with the Dean's aspiration for these 1,000 ROUs. He will chair and lead us as the research chair of the group. The group will be consisting of the head of schools, head of departments, and academic specialists. Researchers will be primarily the postdocs with undergraduates, and we'll bring on board peer mentorship as in invited distinguished experts to join us on the assignment. 5G and the impact on environmental health. And again, here we want to embrace a multidisciplinary approach: medicine, engineering, physics, bring it all together. And we want to conduct accelerated tests and sharply focused tests on the human exposure to 5G signals and 5G electromagnetic fields. And again, we're going to place the emphasis on cellular radiation biology. And I went across and I had a good chat with my colleague, Professor Willy Wangu, who's going to lead us in this space to assist us in unpacking this whole portfolio of the impact of 5G, its signals on human health and then on the greater environmental health. The next area of focus is that of 5G and emerging communications technologies. And again, we want to accelerate the drive for localization, industrialization, and job creation. Our colleagues in industry have started the unpacking of localization and import substitution. We want to build on that. And again, we want to unpack the work in progress that's in the private sector. We want to identify the gaps for innovation and creativity, and we want to build upon that and test those solutions right here at UJ as a commercial base station, as an experimental laboratory. And again, we'll bring on board the peer mentorship that we will require to guide us in this venture. Thirdly, we'll be looking at the issue of the digitalization of the utility sector. And again, we very strongly believe that 5G is going to be at the nerve center of this digitalization effort. We want to adopt the Harvard case study type approach, whereby we want to search for new learnings, new strategies, new innovation. And again, we want to bring to the party that our customers out there are in defined sectors, formal and informal. And how can we bring them all and create that seamless continuity to treasury of utility services? And in this respect, we've got peer mentorship from our colleague, Professor Raman, who will also share with us a lecture a little later on the Internet of Energy. The team at UJ is ready to go. And again, we'll start with the process of recruiting 3 postdoctoral researchers to come and lead us, and then to populate and to support the postdoctoral researchers with undergraduate dissertations, building capacity. Then we'll move into the space of the masters and the PhDs. And we'll also have a disciplined project management of deliverables. So thank you to the Centec leadership. Thank you for the opportunity, and we look forward to the delivery. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. And we're also excited because a lot of stuff that you spoke about is exactly our focus as well. You know, 5G, we have a POC site in our Nasrec site in the south of Joburg. So we're working together, and we really, the synergies coming all together. The next speaker, it will be Prof. Titi Siretlo from University of Limpopo. And I think just for the audience, please be aware that some of the presenters will be presenting online. So will be a mix, it'll be a mix between live presentations and people online. I think University of Limpopo will be presenting online. Oh, okay, he's here, all right.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you today?
Good.
Just a point of correction. I'm not Professor Tekiso Seretlo. I'm Turis Valentine. Tekiso seated over there. He asked me to come and speak on his behalf. Okay. We're from the University of Limpopo. We are a young department, young and growing department, which has been having some challenges in recruiting, attracting and retaining students at postgraduate level, largely because of competition with industry. We recruit a master student. He joins the group for 2 or 3 months, then is offered a good salary and he leaves. So we believe with this partnership with Centec, we'll be able to retain some of these students. And we're excited because our group is growing. We're expecting our second postdoc who may join us this year. So we see good news, good times coming ahead. In terms of our research, we're also in the wireless space where we're looking at 5G, specifically looking at 5G enabling technologies such as software-defined networks, cognitive radio networks, IoT's Internet of Things, and virtualization. We are also looking at branching into food security, where we're going to be partnering with the Greater Tzaneen Community Foundation. This is an exciting and a new area that we are going to be focusing on, which mainly looks at farming and management of the farming processes, where robotics and Internet of Things are going to be employed to enhance production in agriculture. We also looking forward to go far. So we'll look at partnering with other researchers in the space so that together we can go far. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I mean, it is quite evident that 5G is common in all our research, industry and universities. IoT, and also I think going back to what I said, collaborations is very clear. And if industry collaborated the way we have started or we've been doing it, we could also solve the issue that you have in terms of people leaving for greener pastures financially. But you would get to a point where people see the impact that they're having in working at a university instead of just focusing on the financial benefits. The next person on the podium will be from Tshwane University of Technology, and that will be Dr. Vati Swapapu. I don't know if he's available.
So I'll just send her SMS that she was going to, make sure she's going to.
Okay, she'll be presenting online.
Yes, she will.
Okay. Yeah, I think we'll be, okay, all right. You can go ahead.
Thank you so much, Mr. Director. Am I audible?
You are.
Thank you so much. Program Director, distinguished guests, speakers, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'll start by sincere apologies joining online. I'm currently hosting an international conference with TENSA in Johannesburg, and hence I was unable to join physically. However, I do want to express our university's support, full support at a management level. Hence, I had asked to step out just to honor this slot that we are grateful for as a university, which is Tshwane University of Technology. Colleagues, I will start with a quick overview of our university and move on to the work that we are embarking on with Centec. Colleagues, the Tshwane University of Technology is the largest university of technology in the continent of Africa and is defined as truly serving the South African community through its university networks, locally and internationally. Our university has 7 faculties in 6 campuses spread across 4 provinces in the country. And that speaks to the point that I've said earlier on, that it's the largest university of technology in the continent. In a year, we are hosting about 60,000 students. Those faculties that I've mentioned, that we have 7 faculties, they are engineering and built environment, Faculty of ICT, Faculty of Arts and Design, Faculty of Humanities, Faculty of Management Science, Faculty of Economics and Finance, and Faculty of Science. TUT is the only university with an ICT faculty in Southern Africa, which means, colleagues, that we are uniquely positioned to specialize in a number of ICT areas. With more than 7,000 students in that faculty, with 130 full-time academic staff and more than 200 part-time staff members, we have the capacity to research and develop innovative solutions and applying emerging technologies within the fields of computer science, informatics, networking, multimedia computing, and computer systems engineering. The Internet of Things and the digital transformation have transformed the operating models of organizations. As intelligent systems using artificial intelligence is becoming a part of the way organizations do their business. In the 4R era, functions traditionally done by humans are automated, colleagues. All these enhanced technologies result in the exponential increase in the use and storing of data. This data not only relates to the physical data of companies and the society, but also to the relationship of this data with specific infrastructures, such as cloud computing and Internet of Things. Thus, to ensure continuous undisrupted operations of these intelligent systems, it is important to protect the data. Cybersecurity is thus an important consideration in the implementation of 4R, as the increased use of intelligent systems will also proliferate the cyber attacks on these systems. For cybersecurity risks to be adequately addressed, colleagues, in 4R, we need to make sure that we operate in this space. The success of business, which is key to economic growth, depends on the quality of human capital that institutions of higher learning produce. Our university's objectives are to conduct research on the future of work, to advise about the type of knowledge and skill set required to optimize organizational efficiency and effectiveness. And to that end, we have just launched the Institute for Future of Work end of last year as a university. With technology gathering pace for years and has now gone into override, it behoves universities to step up and effectively respond, colleagues, to the disruptive trends of the fourth industrial revolution that is characterized by a range of new technologies focusing the digital and physical worlds and impacts on all disciplines, economies, as well as industries. As technological advances, the questions about new skills and knowledge required to drive the economy necessitates partnership between universities and the industry. Investing in each other has become an inevitable strategic imperative to sustain our coexistence. Research done by universities is about developing new products, processes, prototypes, designs, and intellectual property. The industry stands to benefit from this. The focus of the collaboration agreement between our university, the Tshwane University of Technology, and Centec is the establishment of a center of excellence that will focus on research, capability, and capacity building in cybersecurity and data science to prepare for the new era of 4R, IoT, and 5G. The Center of Excellence will focus on the building of relevant human capabilities and capacity in the 4R space to respond to the emergence of the 4R cybersecurity skill shortage that we're currently experiencing, and also to 5G. The center will also focus on high impact research and publications in local and international forums, skilled postgraduates, research capacity building, for instance, lecturers and supervisors, human capital training, i.e. the graduates, that is ready for the world of business and work, and includes potential technology prototypes from undergraduate students, postgraduate students, and other research. As I'm about to close, Program Director, in this first year, the focus will be on the establishment of a Centec research laboratory with infrastructure to support research in cybersecurity and data science research in the areas of 4R, IoT, and 5G. The focus will also be on joint supervision of postgraduate students, the funding of postgraduate and postdoctoral research students, and joint research and development projects for projects aligned with the Centec strategic objectives. Allow me to pause there, Program Director. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Doc. And your presentation is exciting. You spoke about stepping up, you know, in response to how global markets are moving. And I'm excited with what you said, where you're the only university at the moment that has ICT faculty. And it is very encouraging, and hopefully the rest of the universities, you know, will start such faculties, because a lot lies in the ICT space, and Centec being in that space as well. We the collaboration will indeed be successful. Thank you very much. The next speaker will be Prof. Mishra from University of Cape Town. The presentation will be online. Over to you. Prof. Mishra?
Hi, am I audible?
Yes, you are. Please go ahead.
Great. I'm trying to share my screen. Is my screen visible?
Not yet.
Okay. Let me just try again.
You are visible.
Okay, I'm visible now. That's good to know. Okay. Now?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Perfect, thanks. Thanks everyone, and again, my apologies that I could not join in person because I'm currently in India. So I'll be very quick and to the point. Most of the leadership nowadays talk about the fourth industrial revolution. There are multiple definitions of what it is. But if we look at the previous industrial revolutions and how they affected human lives, we'll see that each of them have increased the earnings of common people by at least 10 to 15 times. And the fourth industrial revolution, I think, would not only increase the earnings, it will increase the well-being as well. And fourth, 4IR is mostly about sensors and exploiting them. But the enabling factor here is the network and communication, and that is where 5G comes into picture. So UCT, through Centec's funding, would start a center of excellence on 5G for sustainable development goals. Now, so we'll focus on three major broad areas: 5G plus sensing. And here, by sensing, we just don't mean sensors plus 5G. Rather, we also mean using 5G to sense, which I will talk about more in my following talk later today. Then 5G plus IoT and blockchain, 5G plus IoT and AI. So these are three streams that we'll focus on. Yeah, I'll just skip these ones and go to the matrix of organization that we are trying to implement here. So because there are multiple sustainable development goals, so each of them will form one row, and these three themes that we are working on will form columns. And we'll make sure that every project that will be supported through this center will be fitting in this matrix. To close, I'll just reiterate that I strongly believe that we have to work together. Again, repeating what others have also told, because we are a small country with limited resources and limited manpower. If we do not work together, there is no way we can actually fulfill the dream of becoming a net exporter as a country. And for that, we from UCT are working our best to work with the research labs like CSIR and also the industries like RAIN and Centec, so that the knowledge that we create at the knowledge level that goes up and becomes prototypes in labs like CSIR, and which then later gets encashed by industries in making products. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Prof. And also just availing yourself while you're away. We appreciate your participation. The next person will be Prof. Takawira Fambirai, online from Wits University.
Thank you, Program Director. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the University of the Witwatersrand, I welcome the establishment of the Centec Research and Innovation Collaboration Network. As we have heard from the Centec CEO, Mr. Boy, the network will facilitate research and development of technologies that will accelerate the realization of the fourth industrial revolution. We are already experiencing the profound change that new 4IR technologies bring to the way we live, the way we work, educate, interact, and do business. At the University of the Witwatersrand, we have research groups spread across the various schools in the university that are working on technologies such as cloud computing and big data in the Faculty of Science, to artificial intelligence in science as well as in engineering, the Internet of Things, and 5G, 6G mobile networks. In this collaboration, as indicated in the preliminary presentation given by Mr. Ngwenya, WITS will specifically focus on two technologies, and these are the Internet of Things and 5G, 6G networking. We will be looking at the application of these technologies in three market verticals, which are automobiles, utilities, and telecommunications. In 5G, 6G domain, we are looking at 6 specific subtopics. And these are the issue of resource allocation in a 5G, 6G network. Secondly, the problem of interference management in a multi-tier 5G network. The issue of spectrum sensing and spectrum sharing among a number of different type networks. The issue of localization and tracking in a 5G/6G network. And then there are a number of new technologies such as intelligent reflecting surfaces that are emerging. And one of the things that we will do is to actually look at new radio access technologies that take advantage of IRSs. Lastly, in the area of 5G, we will be looking at machine learning techniques for designing, planning, and organization of 5G networks. The second area I mentioned is in IoT, and here there are 3 sub-themes. The first one is again a resource allocation issue, to look at resource allocation for machine-to-machine communication, as well as vehicle-to-everything communications. And one of the critical tasks, critical issues that one faces when dealing with IoT devices is the issue of energy as well as computational power. So we are looking at how one can efficiently offload the computationally intensive tasks that are done by IoT devices, and we move that to the edge or to the cloud in a network. Then lastly, this third sub-theme under IoT is to look at machine learning schemes for design and optimization of IoT networks. Now, there are other institutions, as we've heard, who are working on IoT and 5G, and we look forward to collaborating with them in the framework of the Centec Research and Innovation Collaborative Network. We applaud Centec's vision to bring industry, academia, and other interested parties into a network which can only bring positive development in South Africa, our continent and globally. We are indeed proud to be a member of this network. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you, and we look forward to participation in this network. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. And again, it's exciting. These are just not presentations. They're so insightful. I think for industry, for Centec as well, learning, you know, what Prof was saying as well, they're already looking at 6G, you know, the next evolution. So it is exciting. The next speaker will be from the Northwest University, Dr. Melvin Ferreira.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity. The Northwest University is a new entrant into this collaborative network. And first, I would like to start off by thanking the institutions and the stakeholders and the parties that have laid the groundwork for opening up this network to allow new entrants and new partners into the network. I really can't express my excitement and also from my excitement enough about how wonderful this is. I'm also excited just from the presentations that I've heard so far to see that there's already value in this network, in the sense that I've already seen partner institutions and also colleagues by name who I can now reach out to with this framework provided, and start collaborating, because if we move together, as has been said, we are stronger. So with that, I would like to just introduce you to our team and our institution, the Northwest University. So the Northwest University is a multi-campus conventional university that's spread across 2 provinces. We have a Mafeking, a Potchefstroom, and a Van der Bijlpark campus. We're consistently ranked in the top 10 universities in the continent of Africa, and we currently have a QS rating of 4 stars overall for various categories, including innovation, one of the key drivers and aspects that's important for this initiative as well. Our teaching, learning, and research are intertwined with our community engagement and innovation activities in our 8 faculties, which are spread across these 3 campuses, and we serve both distance and full-time students. Currently, when I looked this morning, we have approximately 60,000 students actively registered. That number will most probably go up in the next month or so still. Then I would like to move to the Faculty of Engineering, because this is where it's not the only place where the work will happen, but this is where we will house the Centec initiative, where its home will be. So in the Faculty of Engineering, our dream and our vision is to change the world for the better. And we want to do this by educating and developing engineers who want to change the world. We want to find answers to current and future real-life problems and challenges of our industries and of our communities. And we aim to do this through cutting-edge research that's in the applied domain as well as in the fundamental domain. So just briefly to touch on our faculty profile. So our total number of undergraduate students that we currently have enrolled across all our programs is 1,710. Gender ratio is still working on that, but it's heading up in the right direction, 4:1. We have a few international students as well, and then 71 full-time academic staff in the engineering faculty. Then we offer 7 engineering degree programs, which are all EXA accredited. Chemical, computer electronic, electrical electronic, electromechanical, mechatronic, industrial engineering, mechanical engineering. So we're just missing the civil engineering, but there's other institutions that care after that aspect. Then I would like to introduce the core team to you, the names that you will be seeing often when we meet and when we are in this forum. And our principal investigator is Prof. Sami Tsu. He is a colleague who joined us recently, but we are very excited about some of our other guests, or some of our other colleagues in the audience will know him from UCT, but he's now a proud citizen of the Northwest University. So it's good to have him on board. One of the co-principal investigators is Prof. Leenta Grobler, and then lastly myself, Dr. Melvin Verheyle. So the three of us combined will form the core team, and we will administrate and look after the day-to-day activities of this initiative. But if you drill down into the list, there's a lot of sub-activity and additional investigators that are also involved. So in terms of our project focus domains, we would like to position ourselves in the knowledge and in the application domain, as Mr. Ngwenya has pointed out. So in terms of the knowledge domain, we have a keen interest in artificial intelligence, the whole broad aspect of the artificial intelligence, encompassing also machine learning, supervised, unsupervised, and so forth. And then also its application to natural language processing, or NLP. And then in terms of fundamental knowledge, we also have a keen interest in telecommunication virtualization, which I believe ties up with the discussion we've been having about 5G future networks, 6G, and so forth. In terms of the application domain, we would like to work in the sectors of health and over-the-top services. We see that what we are busy with will have a good fit and an impact there. Then just to briefly touch on some of the aspects that we dream and envision of delivering through this initiative in the coming years lying ahead is to develop web applications, AI models, and APIs for natural language processing. We also want to expand the speech and text corpora of indigenous South African languages, because that's an area that's underserved and research can't happen with a limited text and speech corpora. So that's one of the aspects that we'll be looking at. And then also we aim to develop a digital early communication interaction evaluation system for capturing and evaluating characteristics of caregiver-child interactions in the home or education environment. If you want to know more about that, when we have a break, Prof. Leenta Grobler is the expert in that field. She's our health specialist, smart health specialist. And then lastly, we also set out and aim to develop a wireless telecommunication virtualization testbed, allowing the prototyping of novel low-cost virtual architectures to connect the unconnected. So there's already ties that I can see there with some of the other institutions that have been in the program and have momentum. So our mission in this initiative is we want to state that we are in full support of the Centec Network's mandate, and that we want to contribute to national scale skills development in the areas as identified. We want to help foster tomorrow's innovators. We want to reinforce existing and create new network links through this initiative, and we want to change the world for the better. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Doc Ferreira. I must say the ratio, I'm not happy with that. 4:1, we're not working towards, you know, and that could possibly be a representation of different universities. And I think that is the reality in terms of the engineering faculty, where it's still male dominated, and we need to all work together to change that. It goes also to education. There's still a lot, we take a lot of things for granted. There's still a lot of education that needs to help us happen, especially in the rural areas where, you know, some girls are still taught that as a woman you need to do nursing or teaching. Engineering is for men. And we need to invest in that education so that, you know, we can transform the industry and have a balanced 3:2, you know. I think that's what we should work towards. But thank you very much for those insights. The next person will be from CSIR. I would like to call Mr. Moshe Masonta. Okay, he is delegated. All right.
Thank you, Program Director, and greetings to the esteemed hosts and delegates of this event. The CSIR would like to congratulate Centec for its leadership and role in the establishment of its Research and Innovation Collaboration Network, which brings together industry partners and academia to create a platform for collaborating on emerging 4IR technologies. The CSIR-Centec collaboration is important to the CSIR as it supports the CSIR's intent to collaboratively innovate and localize technologies and provide knowledge solutions for the inclusive and sustainable advancement of industry and society. In fact, the CSIR and Centec have been collaborating in a number of areas over the past years. This collaboration under an MOU allows the CSIR and Centec to combine their respective expertise in wireless communication technologies with a human capital development focus. However, this new collaboration network aligns well with many more focus areas of the CSIR, including all those mentioned in the event flyer, and in particular, data analytics and machine learning. Key areas of common interest include setting up an RDI platform for the 5th generation and beyond technologies, as well as infrastructure development and applications for 5G related use cases. World trends indicate a shift towards digitization and convergence of telecommunications and broadcasting services, as may be seen from the feature set of the 5G mobile communication technologies. We are confident that through this collaboration network, Centec will be positioned to become a key player in the industry. The CSIR affirms its support to Centec and looks forward to continued RDI collaboration with Centec and its collaborators. We wish you all of the best and much success in this great milestone.
Thank you very much. We also thank you for being, you know, our partner throughout. This is not a first. We've been working together for quite some time, and to a point where at some stage I was privileged to visit your campus and just learn and see what the colleagues are busy with. So we thankful for that. And I would also like to acknowledge the industry that have joined us today. And unfortunately, due to time, we won't have time for presentation, but I want to acknowledge AWS, represented by JP. I see you here. Thank you for attending, for making time. I would like to acknowledge Riot for being with us as well. I would like to acknowledge TIA, GTCF, that stands for Greater Tsanin Community Forum. And I think that brings us to the end of presentations. Thank you for everybody that took a stand and just to share what you're busy with, and obviously us learning a lot. And I think my last words will be, sometimes we take for granted that people know Centec. And what I learned is I travel a lot because of what I do. And I find that people know Centec for being a broadcasting enabler and nothing else. But we've ventured out, we've explored right now, well, it's been maybe 4 or 5 years right now. We started a broadband division. So we offer connectivity through different technology. I think for those who know Centec, the broadcasting is enabled by satellite. We've also capitalized on that, providing VSAT technology in terms of connectivity. We do fixed wireless. We also do, my mind is blank, but we offer microwave in terms of, so we brought in terms of our service offerings. And I just thought it would be important not to take that for granted, assuming that everybody knows, what we do. But thank you very much for this opportunity. I would like to hand over to my colleague, Anju. Thank you.
Thank you, Katu. Thank you to everyone who came ahead and shared your vision. It's exciting, lots to digest. I think it's going to take some time for us to just get the sinking, but it's good. It's, when I was sitting over here and listening to it, one statement and my ears just stood up was when Professor Amit Mishra mentioned that the opportunity that the next the 4IR opportunities are going to bring in terms of per capita income of 10 to 15%. And I was thinking, okay, we need to be part of it. You cannot sit back. We have to quickly get onto the boat. And I really want to thank the leadership team here, because what you're doing for us is providing that platform. And you have set that platform for us. And it is now up to us to take this forward. And that white canvas that I pictured early, which was blank, is now having some shades of colors. I'm seeing a red and a yellow and a green there, but now it is about time that in our space, we go and mold that colors into a form and have something to show to the world that this is what we are doing and this is how we're going to take it forward. The next item on the agenda is actually to get our gray material a bit stimulated right now, the presentations. And I'm going to call Mr. Ngoyena to chair and talk and take us through this section. I just also want to be cognizant of the time. We are running 30 minutes late from the whole program agenda. So it would be nice if we can stick to the point, brief and complete. Thank you.
Thanks, Anju. Thanks, Program Director, and thanks to everyone. I will go straight to the presenters. The first presentation will be coming from Mr. Tumi Ramonoti. Just to mention a few things, Tumi is from Ghana, and he does assist us as Centec to have access to the global environment, to know the benchmark from all over the world. So he will help us today to also sort of give us an idea of where things are going. It's easy to talk about 5G, to talk about IoT, but the question is that when we look at feasibility, when we look at the supply chain issues, where are things are? So Ghana has got a way of separating hype from reality. Tumi is a dynamic corporate leader. He has held various positions as director for several organizations. In particular, he has been a director at the city of Johannesburg, in particular advising on ICT. He also has worked in financial sector, in ICT, in energy, oil, and rail and transport. So his experience is quite diverse. And Tumi would like to call you so that you can share your insights.
Greetings. I don't know if you could action one. Perhaps while we are sorting that out, please allow me to thank the CEO in particular. I saw that heartwarming invitation. I think as part of the organizing team, it was really appreciated from our side. Congratulations to everyone in participation for the good that is happening today. I'm particularly excited. Perhaps you'll agree with me that it's not easy post-pandemic to stand in front of people. So when I play with the mask, it's because I'm panicking. But I'm a bearer of bad news also. Just to announce to everyone, winter has started. When I was preparing, I was saying polar neck is a bit overboard, but winter has started. And please prepare yourself. Go to that second wardrobe. Colleagues, perhaps to start while the presentation will be flighted. There are a couple of technologies, and I want to be sweet and short. I can do that. Perhaps to be sweet and short. This. Perhaps to be sweet and short, I'll be speaking about probably 16 technologies that we see emerging. I will batch them into 3 so that the conversation is shorter. I will focus on one slide in the interest of time in terms of what we are seeing from a research perspective, so that we share a couple of insights to the forum. To start, perhaps, there is a strategic observation that we made that by 2025, the following 4 technologies will be highly utilized. Top of that list is the cloud technology. Number 2 is artificial intelligence. Number 3, I'm trying to sound like someone who prepared. Number 3, number 3 is the Internet of Things, and then data and analytics. Those technologies, and pardon my slow speech, I'll be done at the time required because, oh, yes. Let me put my watch there. Those technologies are on an upscale. Perhaps the immediate challenge that comes to mind is cloud adoption in the context of public sector, where colleagues in the public sector will say, but policy, we are still fixing policy. We are still sorting a couple of security concerns as it pertains to cloud. Now we have to move with that very quickly in the public sector. When we speak about IoT, I usually say when we do digital transformation strategies, IoT is the final layer with regards to everything. So it speaks about the connectedness of things. Are we winning?
Not yet.
Okay. Don't worry, I'll speak. The executive dean said he's a preacher. As a preacher, we know how to, as preachers, we know how to project. In our development, it won't be blocked. I serve as a research company. They blocked the USB ports. Don't worry, I can speak to it and then we'll share it later, just in the interest of time. When we do digital transformation strategies, there's plus minus 12 areas that we look into. And the 16, part of the 16 that I've mentioned, which form part of the enabling layer for digital transformation. We're talking about the first most important thing is the funding for digital transformation. Number 2 is the culture for digital transformation. Number 3 is the organization correct? And Babu Ngwenya will absolutely relate with what I'm talking about in terms of the digital transformation. Then at the far end of that framework, IoT comes in. It speaks about the connectedness of everything else. So if the approach, and in terms of what we are starting with, we are starting at the area of IoT, we may need to change that perspective. Because IoT is the final layer of combining everything. Have IoT in mind so that as you're doing your strategies, it becomes a consideration. To speak about the top 16, I've mentioned the top 4 that are highly emerging. In fact, 35% out of the research that we did, top of that research, it was artificial intelligence. So by artificial intelligence, we also include the component of machine learning. We also include cloud, which I've partially addressed. It will probably shock you that at the bottom 4 of the 16, at the bottom 4 of the top 16, bottom of the list is CRM. It's not gaining the needed traction. Second from the bottom is, in fact, amongst the bottom 4 is ERP. Because if you look at some of the other research that we share around ERP, we're talking about composable ERP and the likes. And then another one which will shock you even further, cybersecurity as a game changer technology. Maybe let me pause a bit and ask the question with regards to cybersecurity, because I see it as being able to have a police station in a community and that works effectively. Cops are not game changers in the context of what my father was a policeman. I don't mean to drop it in relation to respect. So cybersecurity remains a key aspect of digital transformation, but not a key game changer. ERP remains fundamental, but in the future, not a key game changer. So for instance, if we're talking about ERP, if you don't have an ERP system from whichever organization that you may service, this includes those of our colleagues that are joining us online, we have no base of discussion for all of these wonderful technologies that we're talking about in the context of the 4th industrial revolution. It's also important to mention that we understand the word differently across. And I had a case study that I was going to share about a particular industry, and in this case, something of common interest to us in the health sector. That would have shown us how it is exploiting, firstly, within the Western countries and then in Africa, so that the research makes sense. It shouldn't be hypothetical or disorientated with the location. So let me try and relate it in my small training as a preacher. In healthcare, it's no longer breaking news that for remote, I think someone was speaking, if not the executive dean, was speaking about delivery to remote areas. For instance, where we come from, some of us come from remote areas as Lalin, as it would be called, Piet Retief, or even in deeper. I was once at Crocodile Farm in Zanin, Babu Ngwenya. It's no longer breaking news that in Kenya, the mode of delivery for medical supply has included drone delivery. So it's no longer breaking news because that's the most affordable, that's the quickest way to respond in terms of the challenges of delivering on road. I don't need much refrigeration. We will send it with a drone. In fact, this I'm not talking from a research perspective. It's a business case I was working on to develop with another a client of ours. It's a full-on model in Kenya. So when we look at healthcare in the context of how we deliver healthcare from a South Africa perspective, we should consider these technologies as something not of the future, but something in the context of now. And if there's a lesson we have learned from COVID, is the now is much more important. So for most of the executives and CIOs that I advise, I always say, let's for a moment pause on the 3-year strategy. Let's look at the operational plan. What are you doing in the immediate? Remember when we started with, and it's also one of the, out of the top 16, please do advise on time, it's very normal for a preacher to run off. One of the top 16, there is what we call a digital workplace. Remember how we struggled as technology leaders in the past to say, let's implement remote work. I promise you, COVID said now, and now happened. So we ought to always think in the alignment with urgency as it relates to some of these technologies that we are talking about. Perhaps then in conclusion, if I were to see the slides, I'd say, I forgot this, but I'm trying to remember. Perhaps in conclusion, colleagues, we will share the presentation for everyone's benefit. But from our side, we are more than willing, and as I mentioned before, we congratulate the happenings around. I will be there for the entirety of the session. If we have questions, if we have any thing that piqued your brain or that excited you. Mr. CEO and to our leaders, Babungwenya, thank you so much for the time, and the program director, over to you. Thanks.
Thanks to me. I always enjoy your presentations. We are just disappointed that the technology has failed us, but we will get the presentation in due course. Now we want to call upon Benjamin Flope. Benjamin is one of the SMMEs that we work with to try and localize 5G radios. So he will just take us through the technical details around 5G, the real stuff that's happening around 5G, but most importantly, what can we do as South Africa and what they are doing as an organization.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Ngonya, for the invitation, and thank you for everybody being here, and largely also from Centec for opening up the forum and even leading the initiative. On my side, when I received the invitation, it was quite a big job because, I mean, 5G is a very, very vast technology. I'm trying to time myself. I'm not seeing my timer, so I think I've got 15 minutes or something. 10. Okay. So yeah, I'm Director of Technology Operations at Good Bank Engineering Technologies. Yeah. So I would like to refer, I'm not going to speak off the cuff. So, I mean, if you look at the 5G, how it came about and the technology itself, also based on the standardizations, and then based on also the IMT 2020 specifications, you could see basically how does the standard really get drafted, because there's a whole process that happens. I'm not okay. So basically there are technical steering committees, largely the ITU, they would go sit together. And of course, industry is largely involved. And then there's arbitration on algorithms that will be used, specifications and their needs. And then eventually there is consensus that is reached, bearing in mind also the goals that needs to be achieved to the end user in delivering the service that is required. Now, the vision for ITU on 5G basically has got about 3 pillars, largely your enhanced mobile broadband. Of course, this is expanding with as the industry goes on, and then you've got your enhanced mobile broadband speaks to the quality of service or quality of experience when you are having your mobile phone, your mobile handset. You don't need to wait for a video to load. Basically trying to offer a near real time or a real time type of service, or the illusion of real time. And then there's emerging things that are also coming because of the 4IR, your massive machine type communications. And then with IoTs and all those type of things, mission critical, it's the ultra reliable and low latency communications. And you can see that now delivering all of these things, sometimes there are competing requirements. For instance, for ultra reliable, low latency communications, you need a very different type of modulation, and the subcarrier spacing needs to be very different compared to if you are going to be delivering enhanced mobile broadband for you to deliver that reliably. And then again, the massive machine type communications, you don't need to deliver high speed data. Sometimes the IoTs is just very, very small packets that we are going to report on. They are very, very low powered. Sometimes they would need to have batteries that last over 10 years. So, and then putting this, the source, of course, being the ITU themselves, in the vision, there are competing, like I can say, requirements, and part of those being latency, improving what do we call connection density. So because now almost everything is connected. Just look at us here in this room. There's just so many connections here. Some of us have got watches that connect. Some have got 2 mobile phones. Some have got a car with a tracker, and so many things. Just your presence as a person, or as long as you are breathing, you start to invoke so much movement of data bytes that there's an insatiable appetite for the increase in bandwidth across the board and across different market segments. And as such, the connection density just become very, very, very bigger, and it's exploding. In fact, the explosion that is generated by this type of connection density leads to data rates, so that we can also be able to ingest this data at the correct rates and also be able to handle so that there is no mismanagement or the data doesn't get lost somewhere. And of course, at the end of the day, is the user experience. No matter how fast, no matter how innovative anything, the user judges everything, and it's the user who's paying for this thing to be developed. And then, of course, we are going green. There's also network energy efficiency. And then, of course, the spectrum efficiency. You see also these are also tied with each other. And mobility with 5G now, I saw, I'm sure you're following the news with FAA kind of like saying, no, the 3.5 gigahertz spectrum is going to affect altimeters and all those things. But the intentions of 5G is eventually to not just be terrestrial, to also look up with steerable antennas to serve even flying or airborne vehicles. That would be UAM, that would be UAS, that would be normal commercial aircraft, and it is happening. So starting from your 3G, 4G, it was just largely focused on handsets, a little bit on IoT because like car trackers, largely South Africa, we've been a major contributor. Maybe the crime and trying to solve the things, we've stimulated other markets. Not only that, but freight and all those type of things. 5G expands that a little bit and says we are not just focusing on handsets or voice-based communication. So this was a voice-driven network, and this is a data-driven network, meaning that it's no longer just in fact, there are network operators like RAIN that are not doing any voice. They're just providing data. I think my time. Yeah, still have time. And then, of course, there is the theoretical speed, trying to increase them. I wouldn't go there. I'm going to try and be a little bit faster now. And then these are, of course, the end use that we want to be able to achieve and improve the quality of experience of these. I think COVID-19 also showed us that connectivity is not a luxury. I mean, I was just looking when the first wave hit, quickly I moved my kids to online schooling and everything. Then I thought, is it not a privilege that is perpetrating inequality? What about the child in Kofimvaba where, first of all, they cannot afford? Let's not say there's no network. They cannot afford. Then there is no network on top of that, even if they can afford. And then also it creates social disparities. And I think if there's a combined effort in trying to make this a human type of basic need, and deliver it in an affordable manner, it goes to improve society, not just generate revenues and profits. Qualcomm has put some study in terms of the roadmap even to 6G. Let me just go a little bit faster. I don't know what is happening. This thing goes the wrong way. Yeah. So we little bit in release 15 and then going to release 16 and 18, and largely what is also enabling us maybe as a country and as other countries is the disaggregation of the RAN and the network slicing. Hitherto, these networks have been very close, and it becomes the status quo that either you are someone, I will never mention companies' names, and then you've got very huge R&D budgets, and then it becomes a league of a certain type of companies. But now, anyone who has the will and who has the know-how can participate in the network because things have also been opened up, including the proprietary systems also, internetworking. Of course, it doesn't just go that easy. And then looking at just the different features that goes with the different releases of the standard. Of course, almost every 2 years there's a revision, and then these are not cast in stone. These are things that also are market tested and are, like I said, nothing happens if it is not driven by the consumer. If the consumer is going to reject it, no matter how good the technology is, it just becomes sky blue research. And then if you look at 5G deployment, South Africa, we've deployed, and even standalone network architectures where 5G doesn't coexist with anything else. We've got NSA and we've got SA. And then there's a number of operators that have started investing and even launched 5G. COVID-19 slowed down things a little bit. Just look at the number of devices that have been announced, and then even the distribution of the devices. That tells you that mobile phones used to be the large thing in 2G, 3G, but now mobile phones are not even 50%. There's other stuff that is actually now starting to connect to the spectrum and get to participate in the whole 5G era. I think I'm going to speed up a little bit. And then on the bands, which, by the way, spectrum availability and unavailability or slowness towards spectrum availability or unavailability determines success of any network. And as such, you would see in some countries like the N78 band, which is the 3.5 gigahertz band, is very, very conducive for 5G. And you would see that there's a number of operators operating on this. And then what is nice is that millimeter wave is also starting to pick up. If you look at the band N260 and 257, these are the 28 to 39 gigahertz bands. I'm quite disappointed that on the spectrum auction last week, there was no mention of millimeter wave. We are still on sub-6. How does it all add up? You've got your high band, which is plus 24 gigahertz, and then the mid band, and then you've got your low band. Of course, this with dynamic spectrum sharing, enabling coexistence of 5G and 4G enables very wide coverage. And then the mid band, very suitable for EMMB. And then, of course, the millimeter wave for even massive type of. How is it delivered?
You can wrap up so that we.
Oh, yeah. Oh goodness, my time is up. All right. Okay, I will wrap up quickly. So there is what we call the radio access network, which is layered, and this is basically the different elements that make the network to work. And through this, we can localize. I've put a number of things that we can do as a country, from fiber optics. I mean, you've got Alton, they manufacture fiber optics, to radios, CPEs. These are South African products, some of them, radios, the software itself, manufacturing, and then even the intellectual property that goes into the compute to achieve this. I think what are enablers? Releasing the spectrum, and then I'm glad that majority of the people here, it's education. And then there is IoT and the digital economy. I think I will stop there. There is a paper that you can read. You will see that the 5G opportunity presents $13.2 trillion in global economic value by 2035, and we will be wrong not to participate. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Mr. Flope. We are looking forward to see the things that you are doing as an organization in South Africa. We will see those things as we go on with this collaboration. Prof. Mishra, you are the next to tell us about Simply Idea, the idea that you patented, And I know you are you are very short. I don't think you'll take more than 7 minutes.
Thanks. I will try to limit myself to the requested time. Is my screen visible now? Is my screen visible? Hello? Am I audible?
The screen is not visible yet.
Yes.
It is now.
Okay. Am I audible properly? Is my audio coming?
It is. Can you hear us?
Yes. Okay, great. Thanks. Yeah, like as okay, so I'll directly go to the topic. So this is an idea that I have been working for last 8 years, and we have produced 2 PhDs and 8 journal papers, and I think more than 10 conference papers. And of course, we did patent it quite early on. Let me go to the topic. That's the plan. I'll be very quick, of course. The motivation, of course, is that the bandwidth is costly, and those of you who are in the spectrum management domain, they know the approximate cost for 10 megahertz of band is more or less $10 billion. Hence, telecommunication and radar are expected to coexist and share the resources, especially bandwidth, in the coming years. And the reason is that telecommunication and radar actually have a lot of hardware that they can easily share. Now, the question that I started with is that can we use the stray scattered waves from existing communication transmitters, like every transmitter everywhere that transmits waves, and they get scattered all the places. And that scattering from all over the places is actually a noise, the multipath effect in communication. But for sensing point of view, that actually is the data. So something that is noise for telecommunication, how can we exploit that to extract information? That was the main starting point. Now, that block diagram, transmitter, channel, receiver, that is something that is common between radar and communication. The difference is that in communication, we assume that we know the channel and we try to estimate the received signal with lowest bit error rate. And how do we know the channel? We use a lot of tricks, especially around channel estimation. So more or less 10 to 12% of the data sent is already known to the receiver, and that is used to estimate the channel. And with that knowledge, we try to estimate the unknown bits. Now for radar, the hypothesis is that we actually trust what we receive, and from that, we try to find out the channel. So what is in between? So we are using it as a sensing equipment. Now, as I told, 10 to 12% of the bits in telecommunication is already known to the receiver, and that is used to estimate the channel. Now, my question was, can we not use the channel estimation block of existing communication devices to know what is going on? Now, remember that that's a very sparse information. So we can't exactly map the environment the way a real radar system does. What we can do is that we can use that to know events of interest. So before I use it, I have to know what exactly I want to know. So I know that this event is what I want to detect. And then I take some data in the same environment so that I use a machine learning algorithm to capture the event when it occurs. So this is not a generic radar. So this is an event detection based system. Now, the patent was filed in 2016 and granted in 2018. And yeah, and this is the implementation of the system. So we used user software-defined radio as the hardware front end, a GNU radio to estimate the channel, and MATLAB to run the machine learning algorithms. Use that for multiple number of use cases. The one that I want to talk about today is estimation of crowd sizes. Now, as you know, in many COVID restrictions, we want to limit the number of people in public spaces. And how do we do that? The obvious choice is that we use webcams and we find out how many people are around. But that actually is a privacy infringement. Whereas this equipment, which is only a receiver equipment using the existing LTE scattered signals, it doesn't exactly is able to recognize persons. So it doesn't go to the privacy issues. So this is a much better solution. Before we can find the number of people, we try to find, okay, can I just detect if there is a person? So we did some experiments on indoor occupancy estimation. So can I detect if there are some people indoor? That went quite well. And just to show diagram it like in a picture way, we are representing the data where there is somebody in the room in black and in which there are nobody in the room in red, and you can see that they cluster quite well, so which implies that it is easily recognizable. Then we had a lot of experiments in which we collected multiple scenarios in which we had, these are the different cases, starting from there is nobody in the hall to 1 person in the hall, 2 persons, 3 persons, up to 9 persons. So we had 10 different cases. And secondly, we experimented with both static subjects, like we asked the volunteers to remain static, and dynamic, like we asked them to move around. So we have got a proper representation of the capabilities of the system. Now, before we apply any machine learning algorithm, I always trust on looking at the statistics of the data. And what you see here is the histogram of the fast principal component of the channel response we collected. You can see that both in static and in dynamic cases, the histograms are quite distinct, which implies that irrespective of what machine learning algorithm we use, we will be able to recognize the number of subjects, a number of people in the room. And of course, the next step was obvious. We applied support vector machine to recognize the number of people in the venue. And you can see that for static cases, on an average, we got 93.8% correct classification. In dynamic case, 89.1% correct classification. So that's a short and sweet way of a presentation. And the reason why I wanted to draw this into the attention of the audience is that when we talk about communication and sensing, we usually think of a system which has got sensors and communication links. What we are trying to do at UCT is to use the communication system itself to sense the environment as well. So we are kind of using the comms system to work two ways, both for comms and for sensing. And that's all from my side. If any questions, we can take that as well.
Thanks, Prof. Thanks, Prof. I think from my side, the exciting part was the patent, and I think it's something that is still in the working. We would want to see it being commercialized. Maybe that would be the next step. Now we go to one presentation that we have been waiting for from the University of Virginia Technology University at United States of America. Professor Safu Rahman is Director of Advanced Research Institute, and is also an IEEE President-elect for 2022, which means that he will be elected as the President in the next cycle. Professor Rahman, we give you the floor to tell us about the internet or the application of IoT in energy management.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. I guess Dean will show my slides, or I can try myself. Okay, very good. So I am very happy that the organizers put me at the end. That gives me a chance to build on what you heard so far. And as you can tell, every speaker has talked about Industrial Revolution. I'll try to tell you more about it and how we can use the fourth IR to show more innovations in energy flow, at the same time allow better industry academy collaboration. If you can go to the next slide, you'll see the definitions. I'm an engineer. When you hear something, I have to know, tell me what that means. So all of us know about the first IR, James Watt, steam power, late 1800s in the UK. If you go forward 30, 40 years from that point on, early 20th century and so on, talk about mass production, assembly lines, electrical energy flowing all over the place. Go forward another 30 years or so, come into automation, computers, electronic applications all over the world. Last 10 years or so, we're hearing about cyber physical systems, intelligent production systems using IoT, cloud computing, networks, big data, AI, machine learning. You heard all of those today. I'm going to use those to see how we can do better industry academy collaboration. So in the next slide, you'll see more about the fourth industrial revolution. What is fourth IR? Again, first bullet, it is automation of traditional manufacturing and industrial processes using modern smart technology. I'll define those in the next slide. That means we have to do large scale machine-to-machine communication, IoT, help with increased automation, improved communication, and most importantly, self-monitoring. Imagine we have billions of devices all working their job, but if something fails, we have to know what failed, why it failed, and how can we fix it. That means we must be able to monitor all those devices in clusters. You see in the next slide where I talk about what are the components of the industrial revolution, the fourth IR. There are about 12 items on my list. I've not spent time to go through them in detail, but just pick one. Lower left-hand side, I have smart sensors. That's talk about self-monitoring, smart sensors. And I'll give an example in a second how that is used in the power industry to keep track of electron flow as an example. So on the next slide, you'll see what is the energy internet. That's the theme of my talk, right? We talk about internet, which allows information to flow from anyone to anywhere. Like we are doing this flow in front of you today. I am in Virginia in the US, you're in Johannesburg or New Zealand or whatever, we get talking one-to-one. Similarly, the energy internet, the next thing on the screen, is a vast network that will allow efficient distribution of electricity to anyone from anywhere. This is a dream, of course, but this is what we are working towards. That means we can use solar power produced in Johannesburg area, which is mid-afternoon, sunny, and I am in Washington, DC, so I'm right now outside is cold and wet and cloudy, no sun. So I can, ideally speaking, bring the extra power from Johannesburg to Washington to meet my needs. That's energy internet. For that to happen, it will utilize smart sensors, ICT technologies, and algorithms to facilitate power transfer in real time, enhance storage applications, and very importantly, integrate renewables into the power grid. That's the vision. Next one. Now see how we make it happen. Now we know Amazon, we know Alibaba, they are the platform for buying and selling. So if you talk about in the next click, we'll see Energy Internet is an online marketplace that transacts in energy as opposed to transacting in goods. I buy a book, buy a switch, buy a computer online. Fine. Now I can buy energy online. For that to happen, very good. Like the black three lines, one-to-one between individual users for bilateral transactions. I can buy power from a supplier directly. It happens in the US today. Sitting in Virginia, I can buy solar power from California. They'll put that much power into the grid on their side, and I'll collect similar amount on my side in Virginia, 3,000 miles away. That doesn't mean the electron they put in California came to me. No, they put enough on their side, so things flow internally, and I get my share. That's one-to-one. One-to-many, electric power company has a generating station. They're selling energy, electricity from that station to many customers. That's already happening. Next is many-to-one. Many customers sell to one electric utility. This is today new. You have rooftop solar in many cities of the world. The rooftop solar owners, when they have excess electricity, they will sell it to the power company. That's many-to-one. Next word. Here you see, next one. When you buy something over the internet from the supplier, they will send it to me through trucks, planes, whatever. Sometimes they get into congestion and takes more time. In the case of electricity, we have no waiting time allowed. If you say, I want power now, not tomorrow, next hour. So this is a challenge we have to deal with so that we can truly make Energy Internet a reliable platform for buying and selling electricity from anywhere in the world by anybody in the world. Next one. So this is the vision for the future grid. The components are traditional. The new thing, innovation, is how they are working together. If you look at the top part of the screen here, we got transmission, substation, distribution. We have all that today. Fine. On the right-hand side, we have the users, electric vehicle, residential customers, industry, buildings. We have that. On the left-hand side, you got the supply, nuclear power, wind, thermal, hydro, solar, storage. Fine. What is new is the bottom part of the screen, energy flow, data flow, business flow. We have to allow energy to flow instantaneously, number one. At the same time, the data attached to the amount, the voltage frequency of the electricity being sent has to be also traveling together. So I know what I'm getting. And finally, money. If you don't make money, you don't do any work. So there must be ways to declare, this is where we can get some software applications, how much money has come in. So next slide, yeah, next one, please. This is an example of three things we'll show. We talk about the smart grid. In China, my friends use the word strong grid, not smart grid. That's fine. We got two components, grid business and new business. So on the left-hand side, bottom part of the screen, I have the ubiquitous IoT. That's your sensor, network, platform. We talked about this already. Next click, please. The next click, you'll see how things are flowing. We must have all of these working together. As I said before, we have these components working more or less okay, but they're not working as a unit. This is the difference. That's where fourth IR comes in. And because it is so complex, industry alone cannot do that. They have to work with academia for two reasons, one for research and for producing manpower that will go into the industry and help them achieve these goals. So we talk about PV, charging station, energy finance, supply to end users, industrial customers, all of that has to work together. It's a big challenge, but we know the components very well. The opportunities in front of us through research and collaboration is understand how these individual components work with each other and how we can make it happen. Next slide, please. Here you see the key technologies. There are 4 items here, the orangish box. 1 is intelligent sensor and terminals, 2 communication network, 3 IoT platform, 4 information security. We talk about cyber security, hacking, all that has to be part of it. Then we have 3 things. We have to have 3-dimensional holographic perception, what's going on. The connectivity must be ubiquitous, of course, and the innovation is in the integration. So this is the setup. Next slide, please. Here you'll see I am mapping all the things I talked about so far into the future grid. We have solar power, electric vehicles, charging stations, wind power, smart devices, all of that are there. So what I'm saying here, rather than look at these things as individual components, look at this as a holistic picture. It is connected. So I'm sure we will not do this overnight. It'll take time, but I can tell you for sure that if we do the work we're talking about, work together, we can move forward. So you'll see on the next slide, the picture of the future power system, which will lead to the energy internet. So we have, first on the top, we said already, extensive interconnections. Then on the right-hand side, they must be smart and interactive. They must be secure, cybersecurity, and controllable from remote locations. They must be flexible. If I lose solar power, can I make it up with storage energy that is in the system or use something else? And open and sharing. This is important. The buyer and the seller must know what each other has in terms of supply and demand so that we can have a system that is working without a glitch. Next slide. Here I'm trying to close up. You are seeing the participants in this enterprise. We have prosumers. What is a prosumer? Who is both a consumer and a producer. Suppose your home has a rooftop solar. You buy power at night, you're a consumer. During daytime, you sell power to the grid, you're a producer. You are called a prosumer. We have to have building owners who can take this information. DER owner, DER means distributed energy resources. They must be able to buy and sell as needed. And of course, DSO, distribution system operator, they'll connect everybody one to the other. So next slide, I'm trying to finish up now. Here is an example of the big picture. We cannot connect the world today, we cannot. But we must have building blocks at a smaller scale to make it happen so that we can show it is achievable. Issue is only scale, not technology. So here you see this is a real picture of a part of Chicago City. As part of the city has a microgrid. They are working to build this. Yeah, stay there, please. So we have this bottom part is the Chicago City microgrid. We have solar power, diesel engine, lot of different consumers, battery storage, and all of that is happening. Then you have the issue of how you connect them. On the top right-hand side, the picture shows wise building. I can make a building smart. It can react to the surrounding conditions. Then I must have a wise market, which will connect me, my building, to your building, so you can sell and buy power from each other as needed. And a wise grid is the grid which will connect everybody electrically so that energy can be flowing back and forth. Next slide, last slide. So here is everything is done. Thank you very much. I have given you my website also. If you need to know more, I have placed many of my lectures on my website on the webinar page. So feel free to use them. They're all open for you to use as you see fit. So with that, let me stop here. I think my time is up, but we'll be happy to take Q&A later on. Thank you very much for your attention. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Prof. This was quite an exciting presentation, clear, and I think it also futuristic, also talking about things that are happening today and how can we integrate it for the future. I can ask one or two questions. Let me see if there's a question for you, Prof. Or any question. Okay, Mervin, and who else? Okay. That I don't know how I'm going to. Should you come here? Yeah. I'm not sure if you will be able to hear from there. Any other questions?
Professor, thank you for your talk. I found it very interesting. I have a question with regards to, I'd just like your views on, do you see the network that actually ties the ledger and the energy that you want to transact on within the actual electricity network, or do you see it as an overlay over the electricity network?
Good question. It is, we have to extend the network so that, for example, take my case, if I have rooftop solar, it is not on the electrical power company side, so I call it my house side. So we have to extend the network's reach so that the power company can electrically see my solar rooftop panels. So that means that solar rooftop panel becomes a part of their generating portfolio. So answer yes, they have to be extended to the last mile, so to speak. Thank you. Good question.
Right, thanks, Prof. I'm sure everyone, I'm talking for everyone here to say that we have enjoyed your presentation, and thank also the three speakers that came before you. That is my end of my part, and Anju will come back and take this forward.
Very enlightening, I must say. Some very good presentations, some good food for thought for us to take back. I would have really loved the Internet of Energy to have been here right now. Because we as a family have had many candlelight dinners, and we initially had that excitement of candlelight dinner, and then it was unbearable. So the faster we get this, the better sometimes for some of us. Yeah. We are now moving to the most awaited moment of the day, which is the signing ceremony. And during the signing ceremony, I would call upon our COO to take the podium and also welcome the representatives of each university that is physically present here to come ahead, and let's put that pen on the paper and make it official. While we getting on to the main topic of signing and making it official, it's important to remember, and it's a quote that I came across quite some time, but has stayed with me for forever. It goes like this: something coming together is a beginning, and this is that beginning. We are here together for that beginning, to experience that beginning. Staying together is a progress, and if we stick together and we try to work to what we have put in place, it's a progress. And working together will lead to success. And that is what we want to achieve from this moment. So with that, I'm calling upon our COO and the rest of the team members from the universities to please come forward, take your place here. We will bring the certificate to you. And please do not, after you sign off, please do not go back to your seat, because we want to have a photo as a remembrance of this day. So please, can we have everyone from the universities that's here?
The camera, they forced the camera to be there.
I want him to sit where you guys are getting the picture.
We'll sit right down. We'll move.
I just wanted them to really thank you so that possibly they show on the cameras.
So we could have solar panels on here in the shade. Just about store. Anybody we'll see what.
Oh, you're incognito.
Yeah, this is gonna be
Okay, good afternoon once again, colleagues from the academia, colleagues from the industry. I'll make some reflections before we get on to the official signing ceremony. I think it is important for us as the organization to really appreciate your presence first, different universities, different industry players, and combining forces to really work together in solving the industry problems. It is clear in my head today, after some deliberations that we had, that we have or we share common challenges, and we have common interests. We have a shared vision, and I do feel from the presentation that we are stepping together, marching together towards a point of a shared value. And it is indeed very exciting for us as the organization. So this session here intends to get us to committing to each other, as the colleagues were saying. It's the signing ceremony. But yeah, before that, I wanted to appreciate you. Also appreciate you, Jay, for hosting us, Prof. Mishra and your team. We really appreciate you hosting us here. I have some roots also at UJ. I got my engineering qualifications here, so it feels coming back home this afternoon, which is a significant milestone for us as the organization. Collaboration is quite key, colleagues. Things has shifted quite significantly over the time. There is not, the approaches have shifted towards co-opting or collaborating, working together to solve a problem. So this is the way of doing things going forward, and it is highly appreciated. And we know from observations inside that entities and academia loses market share over time, precisely because of factors affecting relevance. So if you do not reinvent yourself to become relevant in future, which is innovation and creativity, you will become irrelevant over time. So this collaboration network, I think, sets us ahead in terms of taking creativity and innovation serious and going into the future. And this event in itself is an innovative way to solve problems. So I also observed as a country, you know, we have often not met our R&I GDP targets precisely because we're not, I think, taking enough actions towards contributing to developing research ideas, products that we can put in the systems, export to external markets, so we contribute. And as a result, we fall behind, we become consumer of external products and the likes. I think we stand a chance here with this opportunity to propel ourselves forwards in terms of contributing to the overall country GDP objective. And talking about quality of life, I have a dream, colleagues. I dream of a day where we will all wake up and send robots to work and go on holiday. How about that? I mean, yeah, so my point here is let's exploit technology to its fullest so that we improve time we spend with families and on other things. So, and I also believe this is an opportune time to collaborate so that when the economy rises, we are ready to hit the market running, colleagues. So with those few words and in appreciating the presence of various academia, I'd like to get us into the ceremony of signing, where we're committing ourselves to each other in terms of the Centec R&I collaboration network. So our approach is that the academia with Centec will sit on the second row here, and then the colleagues will bring the documentation for signing, and then we will have a photograph. Yes, and then there will be an announcement of a memento that signifies this very important event today. And yeah, I will come back to deal with the memento after the signing.
We all will go into the second one. So there's enough chairs for 8. 8 of you.
I think you can sit here, you can sit here. Then we'll have 2 rows.
Okay, sorry. No problem.
Just to have social
distancing.
That helps you go spread yourself.
Yeah. Oh, there's a pen they want us to use.
So the camera is
Yes, I will.
You sign under your sitting. You haven't forgotten it.
The pens are permanent markers.
Once you've signed it, it's done. It's permanent. Yeah, can't take it back.
Okay, that's it. What did you study?
Yeah.
Maybe you must write it for you.
Yeah. All of the science very small.
Signing this one.
Yes.
Keep going.
Wow. Can we please give a round of applause? Definitely a milestone, a very important milestone, both for Centec and the industry. And after this, what we want to do is we want to ask our CEO to also hand the memento to the Dean of UJ as a symbol of this launch.
I want a good picture of myself. Yes. With the CEO. I want you to see me in the future and not see me through the mask.
We would also like to take a picture with everyone who has signed as a remembrance of this day. So if you would just give us 2 minutes, just bear with us 2 minutes, and after which our COO will close the program with his final remarks. All those who signed, if you could just stand together with the memento, it would just help. Thank you.
How will they stand? Do you want them to stand here and you take it from the side?
I think this is the better background.
Only women.
That must be fixed.
So Northwest ratio is better.
Yeah.
Ratio here.
You want to take the mask off? Yeah.
Yes, for 2 minutes.
Yeah, just a moment. Yeah. Thank you.
Smile.
Yeah, yeah.
It's late.
Just 1 minute. You take the bottle away. Sorry. Go for it.
Another mini-Zuma coming after us. And we decided to suspend it.
Coming up? Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the signing. This was a moment of committing ourselves to each other in terms of the objectives that we have set out as a collaboration network. This network will allow us to leverage each other's insights, each other's talents, and co-create as a collaboration network. There are challenges to solve, which leads into opportunities for growth and development of both business and academia. So it is indeed for us a different way, shifting the way of doing things from the normal into a collaborating into a network. So I'm moving towards closing, and with that, I want to thank each one of the universities that are party to the network, starting with the host, the University of Johannesburg. We thank you very much. And then the University of Cape Town, Tshwane University of Technology, University of the Northwest, University of Limpopo, University of Pretoria, and the Wits University. We also appreciate you believing in an approach that we have set out together, collaborating with Centec. We believe we have greater heights to climb as a network and shift the country forward. And then secondly, I would like to also appreciate and thank our collaboration partners, supporting partners, starting with AWS, CSIR, Riot, TIA, GT, CF, and any other supporting entity that is with us today here, Katna. We're not leaving you behind. We very much appreciate you spending time and being part of this big event. And with that, I would like to thank every one of you and declare this session closed.
What a wonderful day. Very exciting. And now I think it's about time that we go back and paint that picture and come back and say what we see. right? Please don't rush to go back home. We have arranged for snacks, it's not lunch anymore. So yeah, please do stay back, relax, spend some time with us. Let's spend some time and know each other. It is a journey that is going to go on for a long time. So it's good that we start it with a meal, and therefore please join us. The refreshments are served on just to the, as you get out to the left, just walk in, you will see the food, you won't miss it. So please go ahead and have a wonderful evening, everybody, and drive back safe home. Thank you.
Ja, man. Just glad.